Hello everyone and welcome to a really wild game from the semifinals of the Speed Chess Championship. It's Nihal Sarin versus Hikaru Nakamura, and this is one of the games that you guys started suggesting as soon as it finished, but I would have shown it even if no one suggested it, as it's absolutely incredible. And for those of you who are maybe just tuning in to know what is happening here, well, like I said, this is the semifinal of the Speed Chess Championship. Nihal defeated Anish Giri. He barely defeated him with 15-14. Then he defeated Ding Liren in the quarterfinal, 17-9. And now he faces Hikaru in the semifinal, who defeated David Paravian with 19.5 to 7.5, and Levon Aronyan with 15.5 to 8.5. And the winner of this match will face the winner of the other semifinal match, Magnus Carlsen versus Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. Let's check it out. It's quite the game. Nihal opens with knight to f3. He goes for the Reti opening. We have knight to f6 by Hikaru, c4, e6, knight to c3, and d5. So the English opening is on the board, the so-called hedgehog. We have e3 and pawn to c5. We have captures, d4, and now knight to c6. So all been played before, nothing new here. Bishop to b5 and bishop to d6. We have castles, and now usually black will just castle here, and there are plenty of games where this happened, but here we have c captures on d4, and this has only been played a handful of times. E captures on d4, we have castles by black, and now there is a game where bishop to g4 was played, bishop to g5 was played, but here we have h3 by Nihal, and it is now as of move 10 that we have a completely new game. Hikaru goes h6, takes away the g5 square from Nihal's pieces. We have rook to e1, and now rook to e8, offering a rook trade, and now bishop captures on c6, getting rid of one of the defenders of the e5 square. He now wants to get Hikaru to play b captures on c6 and put a knight on e5, and Hikaru can do this, or if he doesn't want to do that, he can first trade rooks with check and then pick up the bishop. Hikaru doesn't mind the knight on e5. He plays b captures on c6, knight to e5, and now Hikaru even trades bishop captures on e5, which is something you usually don't do ever, as this pawn now on e5 is just a monster guarding the f6 square, so you can never have a knight on f6, and could be a bit difficult for him to defend, but he knows what he's doing. Knight to d7, pawn to f4, now defending the e5 pawn, and bishop to b7. We have king to h2, and now pawn to a6. We have pawn to b4 by Nihal, saying, okay, you didn't play c5, you're not playing it now, but Hikaru says, I was just waiting for you to play b4 so I can undermine it with pawn to a5. And okay, b captures on a5, we have queen captures on a5, now attacking the knight on c3, and bishop to d2. We have pawn to d4, knight to e4, attacking the queen here, and queen to d5, beautifully centralizing the queen on d5, and now at some point Hikaru will play c5, open up this diagonal, and he will try to checkmate the white king. So here, knight to d6, attacking the rook and the bishop, and Hikaru just plays pawn to c5. Now this is the way to go. If you try something like rook to b8, then queen g4, and you can pretty much resign here. If let's say c5 now, then just knight to f5, attacking the g7 pawn, threatening checkmate, and also knight to e7, the threat of this royal fork will force you to end the game, and of course the queen here covers against queen captures and g2 checkmate. So Hikaru plays the only move he has available, that is pawn to c5, and now Nihal doesn't unnecessarily just capture the bishop, he continues development. Queen to g4, and Hikaru says, nope, you're not getting that knight to f5, pawn to h5. Now he wants, well, he would like Nihal to capture on h5 so he can just checkmate him with queen captures on g2, but of course that's not happening. Queen to g3, and now rook to e6, preparing rook to g6 to add another attacker to go for that g2 pawn. And the problem is you cannot play f5 here. f5 here is a trick Hikaru was really trying to bait Nihal in, because if this happened, then queen to a3 wins the game. You cannot move the queen away from the defense of the g pawn, And if you try queen g5, then look at this. Rook captures on d6, pawn captures, and now just f6. And if queen g6, now you're going to play a knight to f8, and the queen can no longer remain on the g file. You could try rook to e8. Okay, the knight cannot move now, but now just a queen captures on d6 with check, and now you win the g3 square for your rook. So king g1, let's say rook to g3, and that's it. The queen is hanging, also the g2 pawn is hanging, and you resign here. So really a brutal line, and Hikaru spotting this with rook to e6 is just absolutely brilliant, especially since this is 3+1 blitz. But Nihal also picking up on it is incredible. He goes knight captures on b7. We have queen captures on b7, and now pawn to f5. Now this is definitely playable. Pawn to h4. Trying to remove the defender of the e5 pawn. If queen captures on h4, then Hikaru can capture on e5. So queen to f4, and now rook e back to e8. We have pawn to f6, and Hikaru just plays knight to f8. He doesn't care about any captures on g6. He will put a knight on g6, and he will be very happy. And if queen to g5, threatening checkmate, you again play exactly that. And now if e6 looks scary, because you cannot capture on e6, but now just pawn to c4, and you don't really care about this. If f captures on g7, even c3, and you just continue pushing. If e captures on f7, queen will capture on f7, and everything's fine. So after knight to f8, queen captures on h4 by Nihal, and now knight to g6. Hikaru attacks his queen, queen to g3, and now queen to d5, centralizing the queen once again. Bishop to f4, defending the e5 pawn, and now pawn to d3. Now Hikaru starts pushing his passed pawn. Pawn to h4, we have rook to a4, attacking the bishop here, and pawn to h5. If you didn't play rook to a4, then after h5 you resign, because the knight cannot move, otherwise you just get checkmated. So this was the only way to do it. Rook captures on f4, h captures on g6, and now rook to f5. Once again putting pressure on this e5 pawn, but now Nihal finds the incredible moment that I've used for the thumbnail, and that is pawn to e6. And this is absolutely stunning. When was the last time you saw 3 connected pawns on the 6th rank? And with black, absolutely nothing to play for here. For example, if you play g captures, there's really nothing, and the e6 was an absolute must. Like captures here did nothing. Just to give you an example, okay, this obviously does nothing, but even if this check is given, queen captures on f7, and okay, we can even show what would happen if this is played. Then you just play f captures on g6, and if queen captures, then you play rook f captures on e5, and white can never do anything here. Black is completely winning, especially if you go captures then captures. The a1 rook is hanging, but okay, you could play king h3, saying if you capture on a1, I'm gonna capture on e8, but just rook e6, you kick away the queen, and then you can pick up the rook. So it's not much to play for. So instead, after rook f5, e6, this brilliancy by Nihal, and now rook to h5 with check, king to g1, and queen to d4 check. And here there is only one winning move, and it's quite a tricky one, because you have to find a very particular idea in order to win this, because you will have to go into the end game to win this. So feel free to pause the video and try to spot the winning idea here for Nihal while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting that you have to mess up a black's pawn structure. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is queen to e3. Interestingly, you cannot play queen to f2, and even worse, you can't play king to f1, then rook h1 is mate in 1. But if you play queen to f2, then you allow black to just trade queens and go for this rook to f5 check, and now it's very easy to defend with black. You're going to play rook captures on e6, and after rook captures on e6, f captures on e6, and now f7 check, king to f8, and now it seems like you might be able to play this, but let's say a4, you start advancing the pawn, and well, black's pawns are also just as strong, and you will not be able to do this. But the main idea is that now after rook to b1, you cannot play this because let's say pawn to c4, you have rook to b8 check, and now after king to e7, you don't have f8 queen because the rook is on f5. That's very, very important to take into consideration. So that's why queen to e3 solves all of your problems, because now if you trade queens, then after rook captures and rook captures on e6, it's not the same, because after captures f7 check, king to f8, and rook to b1, the rook is not on f5, and this is now unstoppable. Just rook to f8 check, and that's it. Even if you try rook to f5 now, it doesn't really do anything, because you're just going to go rook to b8 check, king to e7, rook to e8 with check. You're going to kick away the king to d7 or d6, doesn't really matter, and f8 queen now will force a capture, and then a rook remains into the game. But yeah, very, very complicated stuff. And also the problem in that line, sorry for not finishing it, when the rook was on f5, just in case you were wondering, if you go for the exact same idea, rook to e8 with check, king to d7, and f8 queen, it's not a problem, because after rook captures on f8, rook captures, there's pawn to d2, and the rook cannot stop the two connected pass pawns. And that's the difference between this and the line with queen to e3, where you cannot trade queens, and as the position is winning, and after rook captures on e6, the move that Hikaru played, now just queen captures on d4, the only winning move, which ruins Hikaru's pawn structure and ensures that the following endgame is winning for white. So c captures on d4, rook captures on e6, f captures f7 with check, king to f8, and now rook to b1, and he was in this position on move 40 that Hikaru Nakamura resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So it's similar like in that line, but now when you play rook to f5, the pawns are doubled, and now this is more than enough. Rook to b8 check, king e7, rook to e8 with check, king d7, you will bring the queen into the game, and now after you trade, you don't have two connected pass pawns, and now after d2, there's rook to f1, you are not in time to advance the a non-existent pawn to defend this pawn, and then bring a queen into the game. So really, really complicated stuff, and it's incredible what these guys are doing at 3+1. Time control, absolutely incredible. So yeah, a big win for Nihal in this semi-final of the Speed Chess Championship. He's still losing both in the 5+1 and the 3+1 section, but at the time of me recording this, he lowered his he lowered Hikaru's lead to only 2 points, and there's still bullets, so we'll see if he will be able to bounce back and maybe even beat Hikaru. And I just realized I forgot to update Hikaru's rating. I didn't forget to update it, I just hid it under his profile photo, so there you have it. I know some of you will be saying in the comments, but there's no rating for Hikaru, so there you have it. Now there is. So yeah, that's the game. Big congratulations to Nihal on this spectacular victory. This position here alone, I mean, absolutely incredible with the 3 pawns here. But finding all of those ideas and realizing that you have to double black's pawns in order to win the endgame in 3+1, absolutely stunning. And that's why both Nihal and Hikaru are two, I believe, of the highest rated players on chess.com in Blitz. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Timothy Rozon, Chris Robert Picard, Sapan Bhatia, Sarah Hamilton, and Jonathan Hirshi for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this wonderful match until it finishes. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.